The trust fund unlocked exactly 3 weeks later. Tae-hai stared at the number on her screen for a long time without speaking. How much? Taemin asked. Enough. Enough to buy equipment, seeds, hire workers. Enough to give this farm a real chance. Taemin felt uncomfortable. That is your money. Your escape fund. If we use it and fail, you lose everything. If we fail, I go back to Valeria anyway. The money means nothing then. At least this way, we try. She turned to face him. But I want something in return. What? Make me a real partner. Equal ownership. Not your helper. Not your alien wife who works for free. Your partner. Taemin extended his hand. Partners. They shook on it, her delicate hand in his calloused one. The next day, they went into town with a plan. At the agricultural supply store, Bora's eyes widened when they started ordering equipment. You won the lottery or something? He asked. Something like that, Tae-hai said. We need 3 automated planters, a new irrigation control system, and 200 kilos of hybrid seeds. Those hybrid seeds are expensive. Experimental. You sure about this? Very sure. I helped develop similar strains at the Valerian Science Consortium. They will work, Bora whistled. You are full of surprises, aren't you? They also hired 3 workers. A young woman named Sora who lost her farm to corporate buyout. A middle-aged man named Jae-sung whose family farm went bankrupt. And an older woman named Mi-sun, who had 40 years of farming experience. They all needed work. They all wanted to fight back against the corporations. We cannot pay much, Taemin admitted, but we can offer fair wages and profit sharing if the harvest succeeds. That is more than the corporations offer, Jae-sung said. When do we start? They started immediately. Tae-hai directed operations like the scientist she was. She had them test every section of soil. She designed a planting pattern that maximized the healthy areas while treating damaged sections. She mixed Valerian growing techniques with earth farming wisdom. The hybrid seeds were her masterpiece. She had been working on the formula for weeks, combining earth crop genetics with Valerian accelerated growth traits. The result would grow 3 times faster than normal crops while being resistant to most diseases and pests. This is insane, Sora said, watching the seedlings sprout after just 3 days. I have never seen anything grow this fast. Wait, Tae-hai said with a small smile. You have seen nothing yet. Word spread through the colony. People started visiting the farm just to see the miracle crops. A journalist named Yoon Seo from the local news network came to interview them. Tell me, Yoon Seo said, camera recording, how does it feel to fight back against corporate land grabs? Taemin thought carefully. It feels necessary. These colonies were built by families. Small farmers who risked everything to start new lives. We cannot let corporations take that away because they have better lawyers. And you, Tae-hai? You are Valerian. Why do you care about human frontier farms? Tae-hai looked at the green fields. Because home is not about species or planets. Home is about building something worth protecting, with people worth protecting it for. The interview went viral across the human colonies. Suddenly, their farm was a symbol. The alien bride and the one-armed veteran fighting against corporate greed. People sent messages of support. Some sent small donations. Sang-woo was furious. He tried to visit the farm twice, but Taemin turned him away both times. The Cortaxian made threats, but Magistrate Yoon-ji's investigation tied his hands legally. The crops grew impossibly fast. Within 2 months, they were ready for harvest. Tae-hai walked through the fields every morning, checking each plant. Her skin stayed a healthy blue-green color now. She smiled more. She laughed when Jae-sung told bad jokes. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Taemin said, You know, I think we might actually do this. Don't jinx it, Tae-hai replied, but she was smiling. I mean it. This farm is going to make it. We are going to make it. She looked at him. What happens after? After we prove your farm is successful? My family will have to accept my choice. But what is my choice? What are we exactly? Taemin had been thinking about this for weeks. I don't know. We started as a business arrangement. But somewhere along the way it became something else, at least for me. For me too, she said quietly. They sat in comfortable silence, shoulders touching. The harvest came in better than anyone expected. 300% normal yield. The crops were perfect, beautiful, nutritious. Buyers competed for their produce. Within 1 week, they made back their entire investment plus profit. A Galactic Council agricultural inspector came to verify the results. She spent 2 days examining everything, then certified the farm as successful and sustainable. This is remarkable work, the inspector said. The techniques you developed here could help struggling farms across multiple colonies. Dahai sent the official certification to her family. 3 days later, the Valerian ships returned. This time the meeting was in town at Magistrate Yunji's office. Neutral ground. Official witnesses. Minister Taejun brought lawyers. Wu Jin looked like he had been chewing glass. You met the terms, Minister Taejun said stiffly. The farm is profitable. More than profitable, Yunji added. They are the most successful new farm in the region this year. The minister studied the documents for a long time. Finally, he looked at his daughter. I do not understand your choice, but it is yours to make. I will not force you to return. Daehee's mother, Sunhee, stepped forward. I am sorry, she said softly. Sorry I did not support you before. Sorry I let politics matter more than your happiness. She hugged her daughter tightly. Be happy, please. Wu Jin signed the release documents without a word. He left without looking back. Minister Taejun stood before Taemin. You take care of my daughter. If I hear you treat her poorly, I will make your life very difficult. Understood, sir. And send me updates about the farm. Your techniques interest me. Other colonies could benefit. After they left, Dahai collapsed into a chair, shaking with relief. It is over, she whispered. It is really over. No, Taemin said. It is just beginning. The months that followed were busy. They expanded the farm, hired more workers, started teaching their techniques to other farmers. Sangwoo's corporation was hit with massive fines and restrictions. Several other families got their farms back. Bora started calling them the power couple of New Hanseong. The name stuck. One evening, 6 months after the harvest, they sat on their porch watching the sunset. The farm stretched green and healthy around them. The new barn was finished. The house had been expanded. Do you miss Valeria? Taemin asked. Sometimes. I miss my mother, my grandmother, but I do not miss the life I had there. Any regrets? Daihai took his hand. The real one and the prosthetic one he recently got. Only one. I regret that I lied in my profile. I should have been honest from the start. If you had been honest, I wouldn't have chosen you. Too intimidating. Then I regret nothing, she paused. Taemin, I am pregnant, he stared at her. What? Pregnant? With a child. Apparently, human Valerian genetics are more compatible than anyone thought. The medical scanners confirmed it today. Taemin tried to process this. A child, his child. Their child, how do you feel about that? He asked carefully. Terrified, excited, happy. Her skin shifted through a rainbow of colors. How do you feel? The same. All of those things, he pulled her close. We will figure it out. Like we figured out everything else. Together? Together. They sat holding each other as the twin suns set. Around them, their farm thrived. Their workers were closing up for the night. Their neighbors waved as they passed on the road. 1 year ago, Taemin was alone, desperate and broken. He ordered an alien bride in a drunken moment of weakness. Now he had a partner, a thriving farm, a community, and a child on the way. Sometimes, he thought, the best decisions are the ones that seem the most foolish at the time. Dahai rested her head on his shoulder. I love you, she said. Simple words, true words. I love you too. The stars came out one by one, familiar and foreign mixed together, just like everything else in their new life. Sangwoo returned 3 days later with official papers and a smug expression. Behind him stood a woman in government uniform. She looked tired and unhappy about being there. This is Magistrate Yunji, Sangwoo announced. She is here to investigate mineral rights violations on your property. Taemin felt his blood run cold. What violations? I own this land legally. Yunji stepped forward with her datapad. Sir, a geological survey filed last month indicates potential ore deposits under your property. According to colonial law, mineral rights must be properly registered and maintained. The survey suggests your registration has lapsed. That is impossible. My parents registered everything properly. Perhaps. I still need to investigate. Yunji looked apologetic. Until the investigation concludes, all operations on this land are frozen. No planting, no building, no sales. How long will that take? Dahai asked quietly. These things, they can take months. I am sorry. I do not make the laws. But Yunji glanced at Sangwoo with clear distaste. She knew something was wrong but had to follow procedure. After they left, Taemin and Dahai stood in stunned silence. "This is how they do it," Dahai said finally. "They create legal problems that cost time and money to fix. Most people give up and sell cheap. I will not give up. I know, but we need help. Someone who can prove that survey is false. Who? I do not have money for lawyers." Dahai pulled out her communicator. "I know someone. A friend from Valeria. They owe me a favor. A big one." She sent a message in Valerian. Then they waited. 2 neighbors visited that afternoon. They had both received similar legal threats from Sang-woo's corporation. One had already sold his farm. The other was considering it. "We cannot fight them," the man said. "They have lawyers and money and connections." "What do we have?" Taemin had no answer. That evening, as they prepared a quiet dinner, Dahai's communicator buzzed. She looked at the screen and her skin went completely white, almost transparent. "What is wrong?" Taemin asked. She stared at the message for a long time. Her hands were shaking. "I need to tell you something. The truth. All of it." They sat at the table. Taehi took a deep breath. "My full name is Yeon Dahi. My father is Minister Tai-jun of the Valerian High Council. He oversees all trade agreements with other species, including humans." Taemin felt like the floor had dropped away. You are the daughter of a government minister?" "Yes, I grew up in wealth and politics. Everything was planned for me. My education, my career, my marriage." She closed her eyes. "When I was 8 years old, my parents agreed to a political betrothal. I would marry a Cortaxian ambassador when I turned 30, to strengthen trade relations between our worlds." "That is why you ran away?" "Yes, I could not marry him. I never met him until I was 25. He is cold and cruel and only wants me for political advantage. So I left. I emptied my personal accounts, took a false name, and signed up for the marriage program. I thought if I came far enough away to a small frontier farm, they would never find me. But they did." Dahai nodded. "That message was from my family. They tracked me down. They are sending a ship. They will be here in 2 days." Taemin tried to process this. His wife was not just an educated scientist. She was alien nobility running from an arranged marriage. The situation was so far beyond his understanding that he almost laughed. "Why didn't you tell me this before? Would you have accepted me if you knew? Would you want this trouble?" He thought about it honestly. "Probably not. I would have been too scared." "Exactly. But I am not scared now. You have been here. You have worked beside me. You have helped save this farm. You are not just some princess. You are my partner." He paused. "What happens when your family arrives?" "They will demand I return. They will threaten you. They might try to have our marriage annulled as fraudulent. I will have to go back. Like hell you will." The words came out harder than Taemin intended. "You chose to be here. You chose this life. I will not let them drag you back to something you do not want." Dahai looked at him with her large purple eyes. "You would fight for me? Even against my family. You fought for me against Sang-woo. You invested your money and your time into this farm when you could have left. Why would I do less for you?" Her skin shifted through several colors, settling on a soft pink he had never seen before. "Thank you." The next morning, Dahai's friend responded to her message. His name was Jiwoo, and he was a technology specialist on Valeria. What exactly that meant, Dahai did not explain. But Jiwoo could access databases and dig up information that others could not. Within hours, he sent back files. Sang-woo's geological survey was falsified. The supposed ore deposits did not exist. The surveyor was paid by Greater Star Mining Corporation. Jiwoo had the evidence. Taemin and Dahai drove to town immediately. They found Magistrate Yoonji in her office, buried under paperwork. "We have evidence," Dahai said, handing over the datapad. "The survey that triggered your investigation is fraudulent." Yoonji read through the files carefully. Her expression grew darker with each page. This is very serious. If this is accurate, Greater Star Mining has committed multiple violations. I can freeze all their land transactions pending a full investigation. Can you do it quickly? Before my family arrives?" Dahai asked. Yoonji looked up sharply. "Your family?" "It is complicated," Taemin said. "But we need that investigation started now. Today." Yoonji studied them both. "All right. I will file the emergency order immediately. But understand this will make powerful enemies. The corporation will fight back hard." "Let them fight," Dahai said. "We are not backing down." They returned to the farm feeling a small victory. but it was temporary. That evening, 3 ships appeared in the sky. They landed in the field beside the cabin with a roar of engines and displaced air. Valerian ships. Expensive. Official. The main hatch opened, and 3 figures emerged. The first was a tall Valerian man in formal robes. His skin was a stern gray color, his bearing rigid with authority. The second was a Valerian woman, her skin shifting between worry and sadness. The third was a Cortaxian man in diplomatic dress, his face cold and angry. Dahai stood frozen. Taemin moved beside her. "That is my father," she whispered. "Minister Taejun. My mother's son he. And Woojin, the man I was supposed to marry." The minister spoke in Valerian, his voice sharp and commanding. Dahai responded in the same language. The argument was brief and harsh. Then the minister switched to Universal Standard for Taemin's benefit. "You have embarrassed our family. You have violated sacred agreements. You will return home immediately." "No," Dahai said. "This is not a request. You are coming home. I am legally married. I have built a life here. I'm staying." Woojin stepped forward. "Built a life? Look around you, Dahai. You are living in poverty on a burned farm with a one-armed human who can barely feed himself. This is what you chose over me?" Taemin felt anger flash through him. "Get off my land." Minister Taejun ignored him completely. "You will return, or we will have this marriage annulled. We have lawyers. We have influence. This arrangement is not legitimate." "It is legitimate. We have legal documents." Dahai's voice was shaking but firm. "Then we will wait until this farm fails. It is already dying. Give it a few months. When your human loses everything, you will have no choice but to come home." Woojin smiled coldly. "Unless you want to prove us wrong. Show us this farm can actually succeed. If you can make it profitable, we will acknowledge your choice. If you cannot, you return to Valeria and fulfill your obligations." "That is enough, son," he said quietly. "Woojin, please." "No, mother. Let them try. Give them 1 season, 1 harvest. If they can produce profit from this wasteland, I will release her from the betrothal. If not, she comes home." Minister Taejun considered this. "Agreed, 1 season. You have until the next harvest. Prove this farm is viable or return home." "And if we succeed?" Taemin asked. "Then I will respect her choice," the minister said stiffly. "You have my word." They boarded their ships and left as dramatically as they arrived. Dahai collapsed onto the ground, trembling. Taemin sat beside her. "We have 1 season," she said. "Can we do it?" "I do not know, maybe. If nothing else goes wrong." Her communicator buzzed again. She looked at it and started crying. "What now?" "It is from my grandmother, Heywan. She set up a trust fund for me years ago, in case I ever needed to escape. It unlocks when I turn 30. "When is that?" 3 weeks. They looked at each other. Then, despite everything, they both started laughing. Exhausted, stressed, desperate laughter. They had 3 weeks until money arrived. 1 season to save the farm, and an entire family's expectations to prove wrong. "Well," Taemin said, "at least it is not boring." Taemin woke to sounds of movement outside. The sun was barely up. He stumbled off the couch and looked through the window. Dahai was kneeling in the burned field, examining the soil. She had a small kit spread out beside her, tools he did not recognize. He pulled on his boots and went outside. The morning air was cool and smelled of dew mixed with old ash. "You are up early," he said. Dahai looked up. Her skin was a calm, pale color this morning. "I could not sleep. I wanted to see what we have to work with." "And?" She held up a handful of dark soil. "The fire was bad, but not as terrible as I thought. The soil structure is damaged, but not dead. The mineral content is actually good. With treatment, we can grow here again." "Treatment?" "I do not have money for fancy treatments. Not expensive treatments, natural ones. Valerian methods. We use bacteria cultures and mineral supplements. It is old science. Cheap." She stood up and brushed off her hands. "May I see your water system?" Taemin showed her the well and the irrigation lines that survived the fire. Dahai examined everything with intense focus. She made notes on a small data pad, sometimes speaking in her own language to herself. "This is wasteful," she said finally. "You lose 40% of your water to evaporation and poor distribution. I can redesign this. Make it much more efficient. You can do that? She gave him a strange look. Did you read my profile? I studied agriculture. I thought that meant you knew how to plant things. Not engineering. Agriculture is many things. She turned back to the irrigation system. I will need some basic supplies, tubing, valves, a few control modules, not expensive. Do you have a parts supplier in town? They drove to town that afternoon. Dahai was quiet during the ride, but less nervous than the day before. At the agricultural supply store, she moved through the aisles like she owned them. She picked parts quickly, knowing exactly what she needed. The owner, an older man named Bora, watched her with curiosity. Your wife knows her business, he said to Tai Min. She does. Valerian, right? Heard they are good with growing things. Bora rang up their purchases. Heard about your fire. Bad luck? You rebuilding? Trying to. Good. This colony needs farms like yours. Too many corporate operations moving in. Pushing out family farmers. He lowered his voice. Watch out for those Cortaxian traders. They have been buying up land cheap. Not always, honestly. Taemin paid with credit he did not really have and loaded the supplies into his truck. Over the next week, Dahai transformed the farm. She worked from sunrise to sunset, rarely stopping. She rebuilt the irrigation system with elegant efficiency. She treated the soil with cultures she mixed herself, using bacteria from their compost and minerals from the river. She was always 3 steps ahead of Tai Min. When he thought about a problem, she already had a solution. When he struggled with his one arm, she adapted tasks without making him feel helpless. How did you learn all this? He asked one evening. They were eating dinner. Less awkward now. I told you I studied agriculture. Where? For how long? Dahai hesitated. Her skin shifted slightly darker. The Valerian Science Consortium. For 8 years. Taemin nearly dropped his fork. 8 years, that is. That is a doctorate-level education. You are a scientist? Was. I was a scientist. Your profile just said you had agricultural knowledge. That is like saying a starship captain has some piloting experience. I did not lie. I just did not mention everything. Why not? Why hide it? Dahai set down her fork. Because people treat you differently when they know. They have expectations. They ask questions. I wanted a simple life. I wanted to grow things with my hands, not in a laboratory. Is that so wrong? No. I just wish you had told me. We could have used that information. Would you have accepted me? If you knew I was some fancy scientist, you wanted help, not a know-it-all alien telling you what to do. She had a point. Taemin would have felt intimidated. I suppose that is fair. Are you going to tell me what you are really running from? Not yet. Please. They left it at that. The next morning, a man showed up at the farm. He drove an expensive new hover car and wore clothes too nice for frontier work. His species was Cortaxian, with reddish skin and sharp features. Tai Min, the man called out with a wide smile that did not reach his eyes. Yes? My name is Sang Woo. I represent the Greater Star Mining Corporation. I wanted to talk to you about your property. Taemin's stomach sank. I am not selling. You have not heard my offer yet. Very generous. Much more than this land is worth, especially in its current condition. Sang Woo pulled out a datapad showing contracts and numbers. I said I am not selling. Sang Woo's smile faded. Be reasonable. You are one man with a burned farm and debts. You cannot possibly succeed here. Take my offer. Start over somewhere easier. No. The Cortaxian's eyes hardened. You are making a mistake. My company is acquiring this whole region. Development is coming. You can either profit from it or get crushed by it. Is that a threat? That is reality. Sang Woo noticed Dahai standing near the greenhouse. His expression changed to something unpleasant. I see you have an alien wife now. How desperate. Does she know you are drowning in debt? Or did you trick her like you are trying to trick me? Dahai walked closer. She studied Sang Woo with cold eyes. Cortaxian, mining corporation. I know your type. You falsify surveys and bribe officials. How many families have you cheated? Sang-woo's face darkened. Careful, Valerian. Immigrants should not make accusations they cannot prove. Get off our land, Taemin said. Sang-woo got into his car. Before leaving, he leaned out the window. You have 1 week to reconsider. After that, things get complicated. For both of you. He drove away, leaving dust and threats behind. Dahai was trembling slightly. Taemin realized it was anger, not fear. He will come back, she said, and he will not be polite next time. I know, but I will not sell. My parents built this farm. I will not give it to some corporate vulture. Then we need to work faster. If we can prove the farm is viable and profitable, they cannot force you out legally. Can we do that, really? Dahai looked at the fields, then at him. Yes, but I need to invest some money. I have savings. Not much, but enough for seeds and equipment. I cannot take your money. It is an investment. In our farm, our future. If you will have me as a partner. Taemin studied her face. This alien woman who showed up scared and alone was now standing beside him, ready to fight. Something had changed between them. Partners, he agreed. That night, their farming drone was found smashed in the far field. Someone had broken it deliberately. The message was clear. Dahai held the broken pieces in her hands. They will not stop. No, they will not. She looked up at him. Then we fight harder. We make this farm succeed, no matter what they do. Taemin felt something strange in his chest. Hope, maybe, or something more. Okay, we fight. The spaceport was crowded with travelers from dozens of worlds. Taemin stood near the arrival gate, sweating despite the air conditioning. He wore his only good shirt, the one he saved for important occasions. It was wrinkled. He did not own an iron. He held a sign with her name written in both Universal Standard and Korean characters. Da-hai. He had practiced saying it correctly 100 times. His hands were shaking. The shuttle from the orbital station had landed 20 minutes ago. Passengers were flowing through the gates. Humans, Valerians, Cortaxians, and species he did not recognize. Everyone seemed to know where they were going except him. Then he saw her. She was smaller than he expected from her photos. Maybe 5.5 feet tall. Her skin was pale and smooth, but it had a strange quality. It seemed to shift colors slightly in the light, like oil on water. Her silver hair was pulled back in a simple style. She wore a plain gray travel suit and carried 2 small bags. Her eyes found his sign, found his face. She walked toward him slowly, like she might run away any second. Taemin. Her voice was soft, with a musical quality that the translator implant could not quite capture. Yes. Dahai? He felt stupid the moment he said it. Of course it was her, she nodded.
Up close he could see her skin was shifting through very faint colors.
Pale blue, light purple. Nervous colors, he guessed. Her large eyes studied his face, then dropped to his missing arm, then quickly away. I am glad to meet you, she said. But her voice did not sound glad. She sounded scared. Let me take your bags. He reached for them with his left hand. I can carry them. You only have one hand. She said it gently, but he still felt the sting. I manage, he said. They walked to his old truck in uncomfortable silence. Dahai kept looking around like she expected someone to jump out at her. When a security drone flew past, she actually flinched. The drive to the farm took 40 minutes. Taemin tried to make conversation. How was your trip? Long. Did you eat? Are you hungry? I am fine. The farm is... It is not like the photos I sent. There was a fire. I mentioned it in my profile, but the pictures were old. From before. I'm sorry, she said nothing. Just stared out the window at the passing landscape. When they finally reached the farm, Taemin watched her face carefully. He had spent 10 days cleaning up the worst of the damage. He fixed the cabin door, cleared the burned debris from around the buildings, but it still looked terrible. Dahai got out of the truck slowly. She turned in a complete circle, taking in the burned fields, the skeleton barn, the tiny cabin that would be her new home. Her skin shifted to a deeper blue color. You said there was a fire. You did not say it destroyed everything. Not everything. The cabin is fine. The well still works. Some of the land can be saved, some of the land. She repeated his words like they were a bad joke. Her hands were shaking. For a terrible moment, Taemin thought she might cry. Look, I understand if you want to leave. I can take you back to the spaceport. The agency will probably refund you. I am sorry. This was a mistake. Dahai closed her eyes. She took several deep breaths. When she opened them again, her skin was shifting back to a paler color. Where do I sleep? She asked. The question surprised him. What? Where do I sleep? I am tired. Show me. The cabin had 2 rooms. A main room with a small kitchen and sitting area and a bedroom. Taemin had been sleeping on a couch in the main room for the past 10 days.
He gave her the bedroom.
It was not much. A bed, a dresser, a small window looking out at the burned fields. Dahai set her bags down carefully. Thank you. I need to rest now, of course. I will make dinner in a few hours. Nothing fancy. Just what I have. She nodded and closed the door. Taemin stood in the main room feeling lost. His alien wife was here, in his home, and she looked like he had kidnapped her instead of married her. He made dinner at sunset, rice, vegetables from his emergency supplies, and some protein paste that tasted like cardboard but had nutrients. He knocked on her door. Dahai came out. She had changed into simpler clothes. Her hair was loose now, falling past her shoulders like a silver waterfall. She sat at the small table without speaking. They ate in silence for a while. She picked at her food, eating very little. Is it okay? The food? Taemin asked. It is fine. Different from Valerian food, but fine. I can try to get supplies from your world. There is a market in town that sells alien foods. That is not necessary. I will adapt. She paused. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you choose this? The marriage program. You do not seem like the kind of person who would do this. Taemin set down his fork. Honest answer? I was drunk and desperate. I needed help. The farm is dying. I am alone. I thought maybe, he shrugged. I thought maybe someone would want to build something with me. Start over. But I understand if you do not. This is not what you signed up for. Dahai studied him for a long moment. Why did you lose your arm? The question was direct. He appreciated that. Space pirates attacked a transport ship. I was working security. Fought them off long enough for the Navy to arrive. Saved the passengers. Lost the arm. That was brave. That was stupid. Brave people do not end up disabled and alone on failing farms. Maybe brave people end up exactly there, because they sacrifice for others. It was the kindest thing anyone had said to him in months. Taemin felt his throat tighten. What about you? He asked. Why did you sign up for this program? Your profile said you wanted to escape politics. What does that mean? Dahi's skin shifted to a darker color. That is complicated. Can we talk about it another time? Sure. They finished dinner in silence. Dahai helped him clean up, learning where things went in the small kitchen. She was efficient and careful. Her hands were delicate but strong. As she headed back to her room, she paused at the door. Taemin? Yes? I will not leave, not yet. The contract says 1 year minimum. I will stay 1 year. Maybe in that time we can save your farm. Our farm. If you want my help, I want your help. I need it. She nodded and disappeared into the bedroom. Taemin lay on his couch that night, staring at the ceiling. His alien bride was sleeping in the next room. She was scared and unhappy. He was desperate and broken. But she was staying. She was going to try. Maybe that was enough for now. Maybe they could build something from this disaster after all. The smoke had cleared 3 weeks ago, but Taemin could still smell it. Every morning when he stepped out of the small cabin, the only building that survived the fire, the burnt scent hit his nose. His farm looked like a war zone. Black dirt stretched across 70 acres where green crops used to grow. The barn was just a skeleton of metal beams. The equipment shed was completely gone. Taemin walked through the destruction with his left hand in his pocket. His right sleeve hung empty, pinned at the shoulder. He lost that arm 2 years ago when space pirates attacked a civilian transport near the outer rim. He was just a security guard then, but he fought anyway, saved 43 people, got a medal and a discharge. The arm never grew back, even with all the fancy alien medicine available now. He stopped at what used to be his irrigation control center. Melted plastic and twisted wires were all that remained. The fire started here when the old automated system overloaded. Everything spread so fast. By the time the volunteer firefighters arrived from town, most of his land was burning. His communicator buzzed. Another message from the bank. Taemin did not need to read it. He knew what it said. 3 months. That is how long he had before they took the farm. His parents bought this land 30 years ago when humans first settled New Hanseong. They worked hard. They died from the plague 5 years back. Now Taemin was about to lose everything they built. He sat on a burned tractor seat and looked at the horizon. The twin suns of New Hanseong were setting, making the sky turn purple and orange. Beautiful, but he could not enjoy it. All he could think about was failure. A vehicle approached on the dirt road. Taemin recognized the old truck. His cousin Hyunwoo climbed out carrying 2 bottles of beer. "You look terrible," Hyunwoo said, handing him a bottle. "I feel terrible," Taemin replied. They drank in silence for a while. "The bank called me," Hyunwoo finally said. "They are worried you will do something stupid." "Like what?" "I don't know. You have been alone out here too long. Ever since Jihai left, you have not talked to anyone. Taemin's ex-girlfriend left 6 months ago. She said she could not handle dating a disabled farmer on a failing colony world. She moved to the core planets where life was easier. I am fine." Taemin lied. Hyunwoo pulled out his datapad. "Listen, I have an idea. You are going to think it is crazy, but hear me out. I am not selling. Not that. Look." Hyunwoo showed him a website. The header read Interstellar Marriage Program, connecting hearts across the stars. Taemin almost laughed. "You want me to order a mail-order bride? Are you serious?" "Why not? It is legal. Thousands of humans do it every year. Some alien species do it too. Cultural exchange or whatever they call it. That is desperate. Now you are desperate. Be honest. When was the last time you had a real conversation with someone? When did you last have help with this farm? You cannot do this alone, especially with..." Hyunwoo gestured at Taemin's missing arm. Taemin wanted to be angry, but his cousin was right. He was drowning out here. Every day was harder than the last. The loneliness was worse than the physical pain. Even if I wanted to, which I don't, those programs cost money. I have nothing left. The basic registration is cheap. Just look, please. For me. Hyunwoo left the datapad and drove away before Taemin could argue more. That night, Taemin sat in his cabin with a bottle of cheap whiskey. He told himself he was just curious. He opened the website on Hyunwoo's datapad. Hundreds of profiles appeared. Women and females from dozens of alien species. Some wanted adventure. Some wanted to escape their worlds. Some just wanted a new life. He scrolled through them. Most profiles seemed fake or too good to be true. Beautiful aliens looking for generous benefactors, which really meant rich men. He had no money. He had a burned farm and debt. Then he saw her profile. The picture showed a woman with pale skin that seemed to shimmer slightly. Her hair was silver, her eyes large and purple. The species label said Valerian. He had heard of them. Advanced civilization. Very scientific. Her name was Dahai. Age 30. The profile said she studied agriculture and wanted a simple, quiet life away from politics. She was not looking for money or luxury. She wanted to work with her hands. To grow things, Taemin read it 3 times. It seemed too perfect. Why would an educated alien woman want to come to a failing frontier farm? There had to be a catch, but the whiskey made him brave. Or stupid. He clicked the contact button. The agency fee was expensive, almost his last savings. But if she could help save the farm, maybe it was worth it. He filled out the forms, listed his farm, his situation. He was honest about his missing arm and the fire damage. He attached some old photos from before the fire when the farm looked decent. He hit submit before he could change his mind. The confirmation message appeared. Your request has been sent. If accepted, your match will arrive within 2 weeks. Payment is non-refundable. 1-year commitment required by contract. Taemin stared at the screen. What had he just done? He spent his last money on a complete stranger. An alien stranger. She would take one look at this disaster and demand to go home. The agency would keep his money. He would be alone and broke. He finished the whiskey and went to bed. His dreams were full of fire and empty sleeves and silver-haired women who laughed at him. The next morning, his communicator had a new message. From the agency. His hand shook as he opened it. Congratulations. Your match, Dahi of Valeria, has accepted your proposal. She will arrive at New Hanseong Spaceport on the 15th. Please be prompt for pickup. Remember your contractual obligations. Taemin sat on his porch and looked at his ruined farm. In 10 days, a complete stranger would arrive expecting to marry him and live here. In this mess. With him, he had 10 days to make this place look less like a disaster zone. 10 days to figure out what to say to an alien bride. 10 days to prepare for the biggest mistake of his life, or maybe, if he was very lucky, his only chance at salvation. He stood up and got to work. There was a lot to do.